We are shooting a video here with Chris Lee, who's a new member to the Northside Mustang Car Club. We've actually chosen a Whataburger location because, hey, it's part of Texas, and we're kind of proud to be from Texas, I think.
Yes, and I'm hungry.
Yeah. Yeah, not to mention we all keep claiming that we're that little club from Texas.
That's right.
So, Chris is a fireman with who? Houston?
The city of Houston Fire Department, and I'm also a hazmat technician for the city.
So you're with hazmat.
Yes.
And the reason that we started talking here is you happen to mention that you are you actually lead teams into kind of this disaster relief after things like the hurricane.
Yeah, absolutely. On duty and off duty, but particularly what we do as a hazmat team, we go in post-disaster and try to decontaminate people or educate people on hygiene products or sanitation methods when they're out in the field trying to muck out or demo their house.
Well, I've actually volunteered the last 2 days for some people that got flooded. And one of the things that one of the reasons I wanted to shoot the video here was, and I can't thank you enough for offering to do this, but I wanted to get people to realize what they're touching. I walked in there, shorts, tennis shoes, t-shirt, no gloves. I'm digging through toolboxes that had water in them, extracting tools out, putting them in oil so they wouldn't rust. But the water that was there was contaminated. And the water that flooded these houses all the way up, in some cases, the ceiling where they had to tear sheetrock out, was also contaminated. So we're walking through that stuff. And what can you basically kind of give everybody an idea of to look out for when they walk onto a site like that?
Well, first let's talk about body substance isolation and proper PPE or personal protective equipment. When going into that type of environment, you want to make sure that you at least have a pair of boots on, steel toe preferably, long pants, long shirt, and gloves, and also a 3M respirator, mask, like your sanding and all that kind of stuff, and make sure it's HEPA compliant, and a pair of safety goggles for sure.
The HEPA compliant, that's important.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's things that like a Sanders mask or one of those lower end masks, they won't catch the particles or those pores, where a HEPA mask will catch it, or more than likely will catch it.
So the paper ones aren't really
No, you want to go with the best that you can, because that's your body you're taking care of. You're helping out these people in the worst scenario cases, and you want to have that 3M protection, that HEPA protection.
Okay, what kind of gloves?
Well, you want to use a good pair of leather working gloves if you can, or if they're waterproof. Some things that I've been trying to show volunteers is that whenever you use those gloves, not to touch your face, not to touch your hands, look for cuts or anything on your hands, but also for an extra piece of protection, put a pair of nitrile gloves on and then put your work gloves on, because now you'll have that leather protection from anything from rusty nails, metal, sheetrock, whatever type of debris, plus that thin layer of nitrile latex to help you with that water exposure too, in case you do have a cut on your hand.
So that's it. And some of these gloves aren't going to be waterproof, so the nitrile will keep that water away from your skin.
It'll do its job as best it can, but yeah, put that on first and then put your work glove on. So you're kind of like double layered there, which is not going to hurt you. So
okay, what kind of things can we look at when it comes to? There was no real place. I mean, they had some soap there, some dishwashing soap, but the water hose wasn't closed, so I never used that. I used the antibacteria stuff because it was close. But like when the Red Cross came by with food, we all just kind of dug right in. Everybody went and washed their hands.
Right. In those kind of situations, you got to have to be prepared for the preparedness, meaning like have your tools ready before you go, meaning like have a good sanitation kit ready with you. One thing that I've learned using at the hazmat team, this is all even back to the Boy Scouts, where I'd get a 1 gallon bucket or a 5 gallon pail, and I'd get about 4 or 5 of them preferably. Fill them up and use bleach with a 1 part bleach and 9 parts water solution. So you're going to have a cleaning agent in every one except for the last 2, meaning that you can dunk your hands, wash them in a little bleach water, or change up the detergent with a soap or whatever. But the bleach water is probably going to be your best source of protection. And if water is not easily accessible, try thinking in advance where you grab a couple of gallons of water from H-E-B or Kroger or wherever you can to have those ready for you in case you can just wash your hands anyway. But having soap, bleach, and some hand scrubbers would be nice, like some sponges, but you probably want to stay away from those because those sponges will collect all that bacteria that's in them. So just probably want to be careful with that. But like I said, the 5-gallon bucket sanitation kit, and also to sanitize your tools, have a larger bucket like an igloo cooler, fill it full of water and add bleach to it as desired. Let them soak. Put your gloves in them too, let them soak. Let all that bacteria just get destroyed, because you got things that you're not even aware of. Anything from, I hate to say it, malaria, dengue, hepatitis, all of them, and tetanus is one of the big ones too, because of all the rusted metal. And I'm not including, or I'm excluding all the pores in the air from like mold or mildew that you don't see. Just because it isn't there doesn't mean it's not. Always prepare for the worst, meaning like go into an environment where you're going to go help, but have the mindset that everything is contaminated. And so the biggest thing is I see a lot of people don't have water or those cleaning supplies at these stations or at these houses. They're doing the best they can, of course, but they're touching their equipment, they're sitting on the floors. I can't express, don't sit on the floors. Try to kneel as best you can, because you don't want to expose any open orifices in your body to the wet floors or mildew, because you don't want to get yourself sick. And to use extreme caution, like don't touch your face to your hands to your face, don't chew your nails, don't rub your eyes, and if you have to, take off your gloves and go through that decontamination process where you have a dirty end. By the time that you're done, you'll have a clean end, so you can touch your face after your hands are clean. And whenever you go through those processes, make at least sure that it's up to your elbow that you wash your hands, and know that the stuff's going to be all over your clothes. And when returning home or even going to your car, it's a good practice to have an extra set of clothes or an extra towel, and take off those clothes so you don't put it on your leather or put it on your seats. So you have that ready, and put it all in a plastic bag so you're not contaminating your home, so you don't bring it home to mom and dad or your wife or your loved ones. And when it comes to cleaning your clothes, what I have done is that I separate my dirty clothes. I spray them down really good outside, and I kind of make a little spray bottle with some cleaning detergents. And then I let them dry a little bit, I spray them off again, then I put them in my wash. And after that wash cycle is done, and I'm not going to clean no more dirty clothes, I'll go ahead and put 2 or 3 tablespoons, if not more, of bleach into some hot water and run that cycle so it cleans the entire washer and dryer, or say just the washer.
So that actually brings up an interesting point, because I didn't sit on the ground anywhere. I sat on a chair, but I was walking around this area, and I thought about my shoes when I got back. I did notice that you're outside and you're sweating. The humidity's terrible out there right now. You've got sweat running down over your face gets itchy. I was scratching my nose and stuff with my arm. But I thought about my clothes, because there were some items that touched my clothes. I could tell they were dirty when I got them, and I just took them off and threw them in the hamper. But there's a whole process, and what is it that you're using to actually clean the clothes? As kind of a pre-wash?
I use, if they're clothes like my work clothes, like utility clothes, I'll use a bleach water solution, or I'll use what is it? That's stuff that kills mildew and stuff. It's not necessarily bleach, but it's a cleaning agent that can destroy odors, bacteria, pores, stuff like that. That'll be gentle on your clothes. Unlike bleach, it might stain your clothes, but it'll kill everything on it, but it might stain it. So that's what I would recommend. Using some type of detergent where you can wash it, even if you have to. If it comes down to it, and you only have Dawn or Palm Olive, that'll work the job too. Dawn is an incredible product. So.
It cuts grease real good, right?
Oh yeah.
Obviously, there's oil and stuff that's in this flood water. That was one thing I didn't really think about my clothing, but I thought about my shoes, because I was on this site. I did go just sit right back in my truck, drive home, and then walked right into the house with my shoes on, and obviously walked into my bedroom, kicked them off, and I've been walking around now wherever my shoes were for the last 24 hours. In my socks. So thank God I haven't been barefoot yet in there. So, but that's those have to be clean. All that has to be clean. Yeah,
it's not going to hurt to have the idea that everything's dirty, and to take off all your clothes in like your washer dryer room or in the garage, because when you close the garage doors down, you strip down, you leave everything there so you don't track it into your home. And then once you get clean, you can actually get a process where you can get a bag, you know, and grab all your clothes and put it in that bag and put it in, and then wash it how you want with the pre-wash, washing it in your washing machine, and then washing your washing machine with a bleach water solution. Just have the idea that, you know, safety is paramount with these type of scenarios, and just because there's water on the ground doesn't mean it's safe. There's stagnant water everywhere, and a lot of these scenarios where this water is flooded, it's gone over sewer, manholes, storm drains, and it's brought all that contaminated water up. So basically, we're walking around in filth. And I've been going around to a lot of families that have to let their kids play in this stagnant water, and I'm trying to educate them, saying this water is disgusting. It's nasty. You're going to make your kids sick. You're going to make yourself sick. You know, be careful. Don't play in it. You know, and know the difference between contaminated and exposure. And the best way that I could put it is, like, if I have a glass of water here, I'm exposed to it, but I haven't touched it. But once I pick it up and drink it, I'm now contaminated. The water's now in my system. And same thing with handling all these carpet, tongue and groove, anything that you're mucking out, like the sheetrock. Don't just put it on your body. If you have to, get another body to help you carry it out. So the less you put it on yourself, the better off you are. So if your hands are just dirty and the bottom of your feet are just dirty, that's a good thing. And if you have to wipe your face, make sure you don't put like sheetrock or tongue and groove or old moldy carpet on your shirt or throw it over your shoulder. Worst case scenario, don't do that. Just wipe your face if you have to, and be mindful not to touch your hands, your keys, your cell phone, and be mindful when you do make entry to look before you put on your gloves. Hey, do I have any cuts on my hands? And if you do, treat them properly with first aid, like wash your hands thoroughly and then put a Band-Aid on it with some Neosporin or something like that. And don't make entry into it again if you have cuts in your hands. Be aware that the stuff's transmittable. Even though your skin is is really good barrier protection, you got to make sure that you got to take care of yourself first too.
See, you brought up another point, cell phones and keys. You need stuff out of your vehicle, so I notice people just grabbing the keys off the table, running to get stuff out of the vehicle, or stuffing them in their pants pocket, and you know, after they've handled something without washing their hands. Same thing with a cell phone, with all the social media and stuff these days. People are just, you know, you're on the phone constantly. You play with it, you put it back down, you go back to work. Yep. Stepping back for a second to the mold. Mold, pretty much in houses in Houston or any high humidity area, the mold's there anyhow.
Right.
Right. And then so we have something like this hit, and within 24 hours, you've got new mold growing, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
Sure.
How do you? I guess the respirator is the best way to keep from inhaling the mold spores and stuff like that.
In mold spore scenarios, in old moldy sheetrock, you don't want to go with, like we talked about earlier, that low end filtered mask. You want to go with a HEPA mask that can filter out those pores, because they're going to be small enough to where they'll get trapped on the outside of your mask. And learning how to take off your mask, which is going to probably be the last thing you do when you decon yourself, because if you have dirty hands, you've defeated the purpose by contaminating your face now, you know. And that's another talk and discussion too, how to decon yourself properly. But obviously, I think that would be almost where it'd be known, it's common sense, where this is the last thing you want to take off, because it protects your nose and your mouth, it protects your heart, your lungs, everything. So once something gets in, then you got a problem.
You know, I don't think it's a matter of common sense, because you're out there in this heat, humidity, you're sweating, you're tired.
Right.
Don't overlook that you get really tired.
True.
And you're having to deal with all the combination of everything hitting you at one time. So when you're calling at the end of the day, you're just grabbing for that respirator to come off. You're not thinking about cleaning your hands or anything like that.
Yeah, you're right. And in 15 years on the job with the Houston Fire Department, I've learned just that's the last thing you take off. And some people don't think like that. And I go to these crews, and their crew leaders don't have the safety brief where they talk about body substance isolation, personal protective equipment, sanitation methods, deconning methods, which is really, I can't express enough how crucial it is to have those type of protocol in place. It could be just the basic things, like we talked about, with how to conduct yourself, not to sit on the floors, to kneel, don't put all the stuff on your body, keep it to your hands and feet, have a sanitation station, and be aware of the communicable diseases that can be there. You know, it might not be, and it might, but always have the scenario that it is there, and you're not going to take it home to your family.
So we've got that scenario where we've got a lot of contamination. I noticed we've got a couple of club members that have asthma. You saw that little boy that died over, I don't remember what part of town it was, but he passed away 8 or 9. He was 8. He was about going to be 9, I think, this past weekend from an asthma attack. I know Tracy Bale, one of our members on the south side of town, and one of her children have asthma, and they had to go back in and start demolishing or start their demolition phase. And the asthma was really kicking their tails. Is there anything for people with asthma that you can kind of give them? Is it just the respirator, or is there anything else?
Man, yes and no. That's almost a liability issue, saying that, hey, I have asthma too, and I have chronic allergy symptoms. But my best advice would be to, one, use discretion. If you feel like an attack is coming on, leave the environment you're in, decon yourself, and get to a clean air scenario where you can actually administer some albuterol or some type of inhaler product. And if it's too bad to where your medical problems are exceeding your limitations to going in, ask for help. Don't risk yourself, or it's just property. Your life is the most important part here.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people overlook that. One of the things I've noticed, though, is people seem to be just going about just diving right in and doing this. The idea of the heartbreak that they're experiencing really doesn't surface until they have time to sit down and think about it. But they're just going for it, and they're digging through this thing, trying to get through it, not knowing really where to start, where to end. But the stuff that's getting drug out to the streets and piled up, all the sheetrock, all the belongings, that in and of itself poses some sort of a contamination issue.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be there for months. It's not coming off those streets anytime soon.
Right. Well, the best thing is distance yourself from the waste, and to not put yourself in the waste anymore. Put it in your area of your front yard or wherever you can, and isolate it. Leave it alone. If you have to put stuff there to just trash, just toss it in and then wash your hands and feet after. Even though you didn't technically touch it, just still have that good hygiene in mind, where I'm going to wash my hands and the bottom of my feet, just because I don't want to track it in the house. Just leaving it alone. I know it's going to be an eyesore, and then it will be a health issue. And help is on the way, obviously. It's just a matter of time before it gets picked up. But the thing is, don't get around it, stay away from it, and don't socialize around it. And just practice good hygiene.
So is there, as we work through this, is there any sort of we're looking at months, obviously, maybe even years on some of this for the rebuild. But is there any sort of kind of a heads up or a suggestion that you can give to people on kind of how to keep going forward and get through this?
Well, I would say don't isolate yourself. Don't be an island. If you need help, say something. Don't wipe away the pride and humble yourself to ask for help. I've had to ask for help because we had damages to my house, and I went to my church and we helped each other. Went to my fire station, we helped each other. Just stick together and work as a family. This is a hard time, but at the hard time, we're all coming together. I've seen so many people of faith, nationalities, and parts of the world that I would never even think about going to have all pulled together and say, we're going to get through this. We're going to work together, working together as a family, working together as a community. And that's one of the biggest things to help through this hard time. And to don't be ashamed to ask for help.
I want to thank you for taking the time to do this.
Ain't no thing.
I also want to thank you for being a member of Northside Mustang Car Club.
I love it.
Well, we love having you. And you're a new member, but it's great to meet you. I'm glad you guys finally came out. And stuff like this is so helpful to people. I'm going to share this as many places as we can get it. And hopefully it's helpful, because people don't know. They're just walking out there and digging in. So. Right.
And I'd like to also extend, if anybody needs me on a scenario or a work site and they need help setting up, I don't have a problem with it. As long as I'm not on duty or it's out of county, I can help when I'm not at work. But Randy has my information. Get with him, and he'll get with me, and then we'll make stuff happen. It's safety is paramount, life preservation over property, and I'm all about trying to help out our community.
Chris, can't thank you enough.
No problem.
Can I buy you a Whataburger?
Heck yeah, man. Does it look like I turned down food?
You or me, neither one of us.